Hello, good day, guys. Good evening, good afternoon, good night. Whenever the time is that you're looking or watching this video, well, I'm going to record this video right here about our last topic that we have of the semester. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to upload it first, because I've been reviewing a couple of works and also been a little bit sick of my throat. So I'm kind of getting relief right now. But I will be doing my best with this video because it's necessarily for you guys to also know this information. Okay. First of all, I would like to let you know that if you go to the platform on the platform on the block number 6, you will be able to find um this area right here where you had to upload your video presentation and written work. You will be able to right here watch the each of you guys groups videos, the ones that you created. Okay, for your own references, you can watch the 5 videos. They're like in between 7 to 10 minutes each one, so they're not too long. So please watch the videos also by clicking on this link right here on the name. You will be able to also see the written work of each of you. Okay, so please make sure you review this information and the videos as well. Here is group 1, here is group 2, here is the one for group 3, and then we got group number 4, and last group number 5. Okay, so make sure you watch the videos and also review the written works. Okay, so on the other hand, I'm gonna start with this last topic that we have. We're going to be talking about prosodic aspects. You know what's prosody. We'll also be talking about some features of language. We'll be talking about intonations, pitch and levels, and some other topics. So let's start. So first of all, we're going to be looking at prosodic aspects. Okay, so what's prosody? When we're talking about prosody, it's a feature of linguistics. Okay, or prosodic aspects, which is basically the same than prosody. When we're talking about prosody, it is the study of elements of a speech that are not that are not individual phonetic segments for vowels and consonants, but those are properties of syllables and large speech units, including linguistic functions such as intonation, accent, and rhythm, within others. These elements are known as suprasegmentals. So if you see the presentations that you guys had, one of you guys group had to research the segmental features of language. Now, right here we're talking about suprasegmental features, okay, of language. So, again, linguistic prosody is the study of elements of a speech that are not in individual phonetic segments for vowels or consonants, but are for properties of syllables and large speech units. Okay, some of them are intonation, accent, and rhythm. And we'll also see some others. Prosody can reflect characteristics of the speaker or utterance, her emotional state, the form of expression, like for example statements, questions, or order. The presence of irony or sarcasm as well. It will also provide emphasis, contrast, and focus. It may reflect elements of language not encoded by grammar, punctuation, or vocabulary choice. So, in order for you to have a good pronunciation, we have been seeing, the positioning, like the manner of articulation and the place of articulation of each of the vowels and consonants, which is part of the important, elements in order to have a good pronunciation, um, when speaking in English. But it's not just about trying to, like I said before in previous classes, not just about trying to imitate some native speakers' language or accents. It's not either just about positioning the mouth in the correct way, which is important and is part of it, but it's not just about that. We also have to take in consideration the prosodic aspects, which are elements that will also uh, give to the English language like the I will say like the flavor for the language. So it will provide the ups and downs to the language. So that way you will be sounding more native per se. Okay. So most prosthetic studies have been based on auditory analysis using auditory scales. Prosody is the study of all the elements of language that contribute to acoustic and rhythmic effects, primarily in poetry but also in prose. The term derives from an ancient Greek word that originally meant a song accompanied by music or the particular tone of accent given to an individual syllable. Greek and Latin literacy critics generally consider prosody to be part of grammar. It dealt with the rules that determine the length or brevity of a syllable, syllabic quantity, and how the various combinations of short and long syllables form the meters that in the rhythmic pattern or Greek and Latin poetry. Prosody was the study of meters and the use of lyrical, epic, and dramatic verses. However, in sophisticated modern criticism, the scope of prosodic study has expanded to now deal with what the 20th century poet Ezra Pound called the articulation of the total sound of a poem. So basically, you have seen already, if I am not wrong, English literature. Maybe you have heard about Shakespeare. I think this was with Licenciada Erika. Shakespeare is one of the literature writers that they use a lot of, or he used to use a lot of prosody because his writings included poems, for example. He's got a lot of works that he used to use um, rhythm and um, uh, rhymes as well. I was thinking about the word. So it also includes rhymes. So him when he used to write his works, he used to give some type of rhyme to him. So he's, for example, in the poems, and that's how poems became alive. Because of the rhyme. So it doesn't only rhyme, but it also gives them some kind of rhythm to it. Okay, in the next semester, if I'm not wrong, we'll be looking a little bit more about these prosody aspects that were used in literature, which is very interesting as well. Um, but moving forward, there are seven prosodic features specifically. There are a couple of more, but we'll be focusing on these seven features of prosodic aspects. In phonology, we have these seven features which are intonation, stress, tempo, rhythm, pause, chunking, and grammar. These are the seven main features of prosodic aspects in phonology. Prosodic features are features that appear when we put sounds together in connected speech. They are crucial for successful communication as much as the correct pronunciation of sounds. So, for example, intonation. In short, intonation is the rise and fall of the pitch of the voice while speaking, which can convey meaning, emotions, or attitude. And this is what it is very important for you to know this type of features, these prosodic aspect features, because it will give more sense to what you are speaking when speaking in English. So again, intonation is the rise and fall of the pitch of the voice while speaking, which can convey meaning, emotions, or attitudes. And we'll see, some more information uh, further. Stress, in short, stresses the emphasis placed on certain syllables or words in a sentence. Tempo. Tempo is the speed of or pace at which speech is delivered. Okay, so it's like the fastest or the lowest of the speech when you're speaking. Rhythm is the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in a speech. Then we have pause, which is a brief break or silences between words or phrases. Chunking is grouping words together into meaningful units or phrases. And then we have grammar, which is the structure and arrangement of words, phrases, and sentences in language. So as you notice, you as an English teachers, when you teach English, you don't have to only focus on grammar, which is normally what like the majority of English teachers do regularly, right? And if you well, like when we have these seminar courses, the majority of groups have discovered that basically English teachers at the schools will only focus on grammar and maybe some kind of speaking, but they call speaking to to repeat words, to like the the act of repeating words. They provide some kind of vocabulary, they say it out loud, and then they have their students to repeat it out loud as well, which is good, but it's not enough. Okay, so when you teach English, teaching English is not just about providing some formula or the structure of a sentence, grammar and vocabulary, which is not about that. Okay, it includes teaching the students intonation, stress, tempo, rhythm, pause, chunking, and grammar, as well as providing information we just saw in the previous classes. They need to know how to read the different phonemes, the different graphemes, and etc. About the previous topics we saw. So the prosodic features play a significant role in conveying meaning and intention during the communication. For example, they can help express emotions. They indicate questions or statements. They highlight important information, and also they create emphasis. Teaching learners about prosodic features is essential for effective communication. One way to focus on various aspects of prosody is to select a text suitable for reading aloud, such as famous speeches, for example. Learners can mark where they think pauses, main stress, linking, and intonation changes occur, and then they can practice reading it out loud. Okay, this is a way of doing it. Do you remember your the seventh cycle in the last seminar? They talk about reading, about the importance of reading or about reading strategies when teaching English. That is very important, and you can kind of match or link together what you learn on that seminar, and then use it with these activities that we actually give having right here. Okay, this is a good way of uh, practicing prosodic features. So, looking at these topics in more in depth, intonation in linguistics, intonation refers to the variation in pitch used by speakers to convey various meanings and functions. Here are some key points about the intonation. So we have some pitch variation. We're talking about intonation. We have some variations of pitch variation. Intonation primarily involves changes in the pitch of the voice. It is not used to distinguish individual words, but rather to convey attitudes, emotions, and other communication purposes. So, for example, when we're talking about intonation, when we you don't, it's not the same Spanish than English. When, for example, asking a question in Spanish, and most likely in Guatemalan Spanish, um, we tend to have a flat accent, so we can say a statement the same way than asking a question. For example, we can say, ¿a dónde vas? ¿Verdad? We don't really put that intonation or pitch variation to that as to that question at the end, which is asking. By fact, we know that we are asking a question, but it is not necessarily to kind of give that intonation or pitch variation to the sentence. On the other hand, in English, you have to give that variation in pitch, so that way the 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 guy or the people that is listening to you will know that you're actually asking a question. So you will say, "Where are you going?" You don't say, "Where are you going?" Like in Spanish. Like maybe we say that in on right here in Guatemala, because of the same, right? We kind of used to that accent. But if you go to the United States, or if you talk to a native English speaker, they will really not understand you if you just say, "Where are you going?" You have to provide that intonation or that pitch variation to the sentence. You have to say, "Where are you going?" Right? Why are you eating? Why is it that you're doing that? Okay, you don't say, "Why are you eating?" Why is it that you're doing that? No, you just have to give that a specific accent or a specific pitch variation. Then number two, functions of intonation. So it is expressive meaning. The functions of this intonation variation or pitch variation is that it expresses meaning. When we provide or we give intonation, it can convey emotions such as surprise. So, for example, when you're surprised about something, you will say, "Oh wow, I didn't know that." Right? When you knew about something new, you'll be like, "I didn't know that. Is it for real?" Right? Wow, that is surprising. That is astonishing. So you will give that intonation, that pitch variation to that phrase or to that sentence, which will basically express a surprise, and it will give a different meaning than if you just said, "Oh, I didn't know that." Right? So you kind of just saying that you didn't know that, but it does not provide that surprising, emotion to the phrase. "Oh wow, I didn't know that." When you say that, right? Then it's not the same than when you said, "Oh, I didn't know that." Right? So it's different. It also express anger. So like whenever you're mad, you can either say, "I didn't know that," or you can say, "I didn't know that." That means that you notice the difference in the pitch variation, or the difference in between the intonation. So one expresses surprising and the other expresses anger. On the other hand, you can also express delight with it. So you can say, "I didn't know that." right? So it's kind of you delighting, you know, you knew about something, and then you're expressing that you delight with it. Oh man, I didn't know that. That's wonderful, right? So the difference in between intonation can express different meaning to what you're actually saying. So for example, rising intonation might indicate surprise, while falling intonation could convey certainty, right? So it also another function is that in regarding grammatical function, intonation can also serve a grammatical purpose. For instance, rising intonation at the end of a sentence can turn a statement into a question, right? So it also has to do with grammatical functions, right? So you can just say, for example, um, let me see about an example right here. Um, So for example, you can say somebody in a statement and say you are eating, right? Or let's say you eating chocolate. You're just telling that person you are eating chocolate, right? You're telling that person that you're actually making a statement that this person is eating chocolate. But what if you place a rising intonation at the end of the sentence, and instead of saying you're eating chocolate, you say you eating chocolate? So then you're kind of asking to that person if he is eating chocolate, right? So if you notice that changing the intonation at the end of the sentence will actually change the meaning, and it will also provide a grammatical function. Now we know that you're asking a question instead of making a statement. Okay, so it also provide highlights on focusing. Speakers use intonation to emphasize specific words or phrases within an utterance. And also elocutionary acts. Intonation helps signals to elocutionary force of a sentence. Example, whether it's a question, command, or a statement. And also flow or discourse. Intonation regulates the flow of a conversation. Then we have number three, transcription. Linguists use various transcriptions conventions to represent intonation patterns. Right here, we're talking about uh, the symbols of the written system. So in the International Phonetic Alphabet (IPA or IPA), it includes symbols for global rising. So this symbol right here, the little square with an arrow going to the top, the right top corner, it represents uh, rising, a global rising. And when you see these square um, brackets in between square and falling arrow to the lower right corner, it means that the intonation is falling down, right? So rising intonation often indicate questions or uncertainty, while falling intonation can mark the end of a statement, right? For example, if you said, um, and Peter was and Peter, I would say, I'm just thinking about an example, and Peter went to sleep, right? So that means that you're marking the end of a statement because you're falling down. And Peter went to sleep, right? The last part of the last syllable of sleep, it's going down, it's rising down, it's falling down. I'm sorry. So you go like Peter went to sleep. But if on the other side and of the other hand you said, and Peter went to sleep, and you're rising your the intonation of that word, then that will indicate question or wondering or uncertainty, right? Something that you don't know. And Peter went to sleep, right? You see the difference? Then if you say, and Peter went to sleep, right? So you end in the statement, but if you say, and Peter went to sleep, then you kind of wondering if Peter went to sleep, right? So that's why it is very important the intonation when speaking in English. So other patterns include fall rise, deepening, and rise fall picking intonation. Remember, intonation works in conjunction with other prosodic features such as stress and rhythm to convey meaning and enhance communication. Okay, so let's see now about stress. In linguistics, stress, also known as accent, refers to the relative emphasis or prominence given to a certain syllable within a word or to a specific word within a phrase or sentence. This emphasis is typically conveyed through properties such as increased loudness, vowel length, full articulation of the vowel, and changes in tone. Here are some key points about stress linguistics. So it is very important about the stressing on the words because it will also change the meaning of a word depending on where you put in the stress. So word stress. Word stress pertains to the emphasis placed on syllables within words. Some languages have fixed stress where the stress consistently falls on a particular syllable. For example, Polish with the penultimate stress or finish with the initial stress. Other languages like English and Russian exhibit lexical stress, where the position of a stress in a word is not predictable but it is encoded into a lexicon, right? In English, sorry about that. In English, stress patterns can help distinguish the meanings of two words or phrases that might otherwise appear identical. So sentence stress in prosodic aspects, which it's known as prosodic stress. Sentence stress refers to the stress placed on a word within sentences. It is one of the three components of prosody, along with rhythm and intonation. Within sentences stress, we have phrasal stress, which is the default emphasis on a certain word within phrases or clauses. And also we have contrastive stress, which is used to highlight specific items or parts of words that require particular focus. Phonetic realization. Stressed syllables are often louder than non-stressed syllables. They might also have higher or lower pitch. The exact manifestation of a stress depends on the language being spoken. In summary, stress plays a crucial role in shaping the rhythm and emphasis of a spoken language, contributing to the overall meaning and communicative effectiveness of sentences or words. So I think in regards to the stress, it doesn't really requires a lot of explanation because we know what a stress is. Okay, we have also a stress in Spanish, so we know that. But we have to actually know or learn where the stress goes in English because there are some words in something that is very common in EFL students, um, which are in is people from Spanish, speaking countries trying to learn English, is that they will place the stress on to the words like if they were Spanish, right? Um, for example, let me see about a word. Actually, I have corrected a lot of people along the time because they will normally place the stress like if they were speaking in Spanish. So they are speaking in English, but they are giving Spanish stress to the words. For example, I think I had some some words written right here. Let me see. Because I was actually providing feedback to some other students, and let me see if I got them right here. Uh, um, hmm. Yes, right here. I have some words right here that I wrote down. Okay, so for example, in the case of result, um, some people were saying result, right? Um, in English, no, backwards. I'm sorry. Some guys were saying result, which is basically in Spanish resultado, right? The stress goes on at the end of the word, but in English we will say the result, right? The result. So the stress goes at the beginning of the word. Um, Let me see another one. Okay, so for example, in the case of priority, there are some people that will say priority, priority, or priority, and they will uh, give a stress to the first syllable of the word. They will say priority or priority, and in this case, the stress goes in the middle, so it's priority, right? Priority. So the stress goes in the middle, priority, and not at the beginning. Um, this one was also an example. Instead of saying important, you say important, right? Because in Spanish we say importante. So kind of the stress goes at the end, or kind of at in the middle end, right? But you won't say in English important. No, you will say important, right? So the stress goes at the beginning. And so on. There are some other examples that, if we can provide a lot of examples, but this video is gonna be too long, and I'm trying to make it short for you not to uh, take long time watching a video or maybe get bored. So we know about the stress. Try to, like, if you have questions, or if you have doubts about on a specific stress, or about the stress of a specific word, you can either use so many tools that are on the internet right now. So for example, Google Translator is one of them. In Google Translator, you will actually put write a word, and then it will give you like a little speaker you can click on, and it will actually say the word with the correct sentence. Okay, so you can use that if in case you have doubts about a specific pronunciation of a word. So tempo, number three, tempo. In English linguistics, tempo refers to a person's rate of speech. It is a component of prosody which encompasses various aspects of speech rhythm, intonation, and stress patterns. Specifically, tempo relates to how quickly or slowly someone speaks. The average rate of speaking, often measured in syllables per minute, contributes to the overall tempo of an individual speech. So, when discussing tempo in linguistic terms, we are essentially examining the speed at which someone communicates. So tempo is also very important in English, because it will also, provide um, some kind of feature to the language. So whenever you're talking faster, it's kind of you talking normal maybe, but if, for example, you're talking to somebody, um, in for example, I'm gonna give you an example. I'm telling you a story. I'm telling you a story about somebody that did something unbelievable, right? So these people is telling me what he did, which I am astonished about it. So I'm telling you the story, for example, and I'm gonna tell you. And this guy was driving the car, and then he parked on a station where was not permitted, because it was only for people in wheelchair. And I said, "Are you for real?" You see? So I'm telling you the story in a regular tempo, but when I'm telling you that I told that guy, "Are you for real? Did you park on that space where was not permitted?" My tempo went down, right? My tempo went down, and and that will actually give a different meaning to what you're talking. Okay, so that's why it is important. Also, the tempo rhythm. When we're talking about English rhythm, rhythm in English refers to the sense of movement in a speech, which is marked by a stress, timing, and quantity of syllables. When we say stress, we mean emphasizing or saying a syllable or a word more strongly than other parts of the word or sentences. This emphasis makes the stressed syllable and words stand out and become more noticeable. Here are two key aspects of English rhythm. So, syllable stress. Syllable stress refers to a syllable or a segment of a word that is stressed more than other syllables in the word. For example, in the word banana, which syllable do you think that is more stressed? We don't say banana and we don't say banana, right? So in English, we say banana. So the stress is in the middle, right? Banana. So it goes like banana, banana, right? The second syllable na is a stress like banana. Spoken English words with two or more syllables have different stresses and length patterns, right? So think about some other words that also have different stress, or they have a syllable that is more strong than others. For example, spoken, spoken, or for example, syllables. Syllables, the first syllable is more stressed than the others, right? Syllable have different, 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 right? Okay, so word stress. Word stress involves emphasizing certain words within a sentence. Content words such as nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs typically carries a stress, while function words such as articles, prepositions, and pronouns are usually unstressed. So most likely, when we're talking about, sorry about that, guys, but I've been a little bit sick on my throat. So when we're talking about word stress, um, a words like such as nouns, verbs, and adjectives are more stressed than articles, prepositions, and pronouns, which are normally unstressed. For instance, in the sentence, "She loves to read books," the content words loves and read are more stressed than the others. So she loves to read book, right? She loves to read book. She loves to read books, right? So improving your English rhythm to enhance your English pronunciation and rhythm, consider the following exercises. Echo activity. Listen to native English speakers. Okay, like in short films, for example, movies, maybe podcasts, TV shows, or videos. Pay close attention to how they stress words and sentences, and then try to shadow them by matching your stress to theirs. To try to imitate, right? Which is good. Like I said, it is good to imitate. It's not just by imitating, but it's good to do it. Okay, so that way you know how they stress or how they apply rhythm to what they are speaking. Movement activity. Physically move while speaking English. Walk away or tap your foot to the rhythm of your speech. This helps you internalize the natural flow of a stress time language. And also bouncing ball activities. Imagine a bouncing ball as you speak. The ball bounces on a stressed syllables and moves smoothly over unstressed ones. This visual cue can help you maintain the right rhythm. Remember that in English rhythm varies across different contexts. For example, news anchors versus bloggers, So exposure to various sources will enhance your understanding. Number five, we have pause. When we're talking about pause in the English language refers to a temporary stop or rest, especially in a speech or action. It can take various forms and serve different purposes. In a speech and writing, in phonetics, a pause is a break in the speaking, a moment of silence. It can be indicated by a double vertical bar like this one. And when we're talking to, this one, you will see it in the EPA also, alphabet. You will see it like this way in phonetic analysis. Also, in direct speech, both fiction and non-fiction, a pause is conventionally indicated in writing by ellipsis points like those right here. Now, when we're talking about writing, when you're reading a text, you will see this ellipsis, or like it's like the 3 points right here at the end of a phrase, or like this right here, which will indicate a short pause when you're reading. Okay, you will see that a lot of in fiction writings. Okay, so in fiction, authors use pauses to create dramatic effects or convey emotional states. For example, when raised her head and spoke haltingly, fighting back tears. He told me Tuesday that there was too much damage, but he wants to send her to a specialist in Memphis, right? So these 3 points right here means that there is a short pause, right? We have some other example right here. Anyone who is guilty of such practices, he paused for effect. Anyone in town, he turned and looked behind him. Or even in the priory, he turned back. I say anyone guilty of such practices should be shunned, and my God have mercy on their souls. So if you notice, by reading the pauses, we will actually understand the meaning of what we are reading, right? Because it makes sense. We actually, this writer right here is narrating about what somebody's doing. So it says anyone who is guilty of such practices, he paused for effect. So this one, the narrator is telling us that he said this, and then he paused. Anyone in town? Another pause. He turned and looked behind him. Or even in the priory, right? So this ellipsis right here will know that means that there is a pause in it. Okay. So then we have also in drama. In drama, we also use a lot of pauses. But let me jump into number 4. Um, well, actually, we also have pauses in drama. We also have pauses in public speaking. We also use pauses in a conversation. Okay. But let me go to chunking. Okay. Chunking, it's a memory strategy that involves grouping information into meaningful chunks to make it easier to remember. Here is how it works. So, in other words, chunking, it's a group of words, which it's good for us to understand, because that way, by us using chunks, which are common phrases compound by a different words in English, we will know that we will sound more native, I will say, or more knowledgeable about the language. We will sound more natural. Um, so what is chunking? The term chunking originated in psychology and was popularized by George Miller in a famous paper. Miller suggested that our short-term memory has a capacity of about 7 units of information plus or minus 2. However, This capacity can be expanded by grouping related units of information together into larger chunks. For example, instead of trying to remember the sequence of numbers 8, 7, 3, 4, 2, 0, 1, 9, 5, 6, it is easier to remember if we break it up into chunks like 87, 34, 20, and 1956, right? So by grouping the numbers, it will be easier to remember than if we just memorize or try to memorize the numbers, one by one. And it works the same in linguistics. So if we try to memorize word by word, we will kind of remember a couple of words of vocabulary, but out of 10 words, we might be able to remember 5. But if we try to put them together into phrases, then it will be easier for us to remember. So what is recommendable is that watching movies or listen to podcasts in English, in native English speakers. So that way we can identify the most common or popular phrases that they say. In the United States, there are many popular or common phrases that they will use very often. Um, so, for example, how does chunking helps in language learning? It will help us, sound more naturally speaking. Words often come together in common phrases. By learning groups of words together or chunks, you can speak more likely like a native, right? And also effective memory. When you put words together in context with other words you already know, it reduces the cognitive load of learning new vocabulary. Already. So, common chunks in English. Here are a couple of common words in English. So, for polite expressions, for example, these include phrases like please, thank you, and excuse me. These are just like real popular phrases or words that you will hear in English. So when you say, for example, oh, excuse me, you already know that someone is trying to excuse themselves because of something, right? So these are chunks. So instead of learning excuse and then me, by learning excuse me, you will know what it means and it will be better for you to, learn the whole phrase. Expressions in conversations, like, for example, learn common phrases used in everyday conversation. Idioms and expressions. Familiarize yourself with idiomatic expressions to enhance your language skills. We will see a couple of examples right here, but remember that chunking can make language learning more efficient and enjoyable. Here are some common English chunks that you will encounter in everyday conversations. When we're greeting, a couple of chunks that we will find in English are hello, how are you? Right? Okay, so you can teach your students what is hello, what hello means. You can also teach them what how means, what are means, and what you means, right? But if you teach them to say hello, how are you, it will be better for them, or it will be easier for them to learn the whole sentence. Hello, how are you? Hi there. Good morning. Hey, what's up? Right? For polite expressions, we have, for example, please pass the salt. Thank you for your help. Excuse me, could you repeat that? I am sorry to bother you. Okay? So you can teach your students about each piece of this phrase, right? So they can learn the meaning of each word, which is good. But it's also recommendable for you to teach them chunks, which are complete phrases. Expressions for ordering food. For example, I'll have the chicken sandwich, please. Can I get a large coffee to go? I like the vegetarian option. And common idiomatic expressions. A piece of cake, right? Which means that something is easy. Break a leg, which means good luck. Or bite the bullet, which means face a difficult situation. We have also chunks in phrasal verbs. So for example, look up, which means search for information, take off, which means remove something, and put up with, which means to tolerate something. Okay, so these are normal or popular chunks that we will find in English language. Remember that using these chunks in context will make your English sound more natural and fluent. And last but not least, we have grammar. Grammar refers to the rules of a language that governs its sounds, word sentences, and other elements. It encompasses the combination and interpretation of these linguistic features. Let's explore some key aspects of grammar. So we have, for example, parts of a speech. Grammar includes the study of different parts of a speech, which, by the way, you will be seeing morphology and syntax with me if I'm still Antigua Guatemala. If I'm not wrong, it's for you for next year, okay? Which will be looking at more grammatical features than phonological features, which is this course about. But parts of a speech. Grammar includes the study of different parts of a speech, such as nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections. These categories help organize language and convey meaning. We have also sentence structure. Understanding how sentences are structured is essential in grammar. This involves syntax, word arrangement, and morphology. Wording, for which means word information. For example, knowing the correct order of subject, verb, and object in a sentence contributes to effective communication. Phonology. When we're talking about phonology, phonology deals with the sound of a language. It includes the study of phonemes, distinctive sounds units, and their patterns. Native speakers intuitively recognize these sounds patterns. So we know already what is phonology because we saw that at the beginning of the semester. Semantics. When we're talking about semantics, grammar also considers the meaning of words. So we're talking about semantics. We are talking about the meaning of the words, right? In sentences. Semantics explores how words relate to each other and convey specific meanings. Prescriptive versus descriptive grammar. Okay, so prescriptive grammar provides rules for correct language usage and it guides the speaker on what it is considered proper. Descriptive grammar, it describes how a language is actually used by native speakers. It focuses on real world language patterns. Generative grammar, this approach provides instructions for generating an infinite number of sentences in a language, and it goes beyond more description and aims to explain the underlying structure of a language. Okay, so historically, the Greeks and Romans contributed significantly to the development of grammar. The Greeks focused on the literacy language while the Romans applied Greek grammatical principles to Latin. Today, linguists continue to explore grammar in intricacies including phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. Without grammar, language would lack coherence and effective communications would be impossible. Okay, I have some references right here. And well, guys, this is the end of this lesson. Um, Please read the document whenever you can, because this will help you a lot to understand how prosodic aspects and features can help you, uh, you know, sound more confident, sound more native, sound more like sound well, because that, like I said, it's not just about uh, imitating. It's not just about learning vocabulary. It's not just about positioning the mouth correctly. It's also about utilizing these seven. prosodic features: intonation, stress, tempo, rhythm, pause, chunking, and grammar. All of this together, along with um, the manner of articulation and the place of articulation, will provide you a great accent. It will give you a better accent, and you will sound more knowledgeable about the language, and you will sound more native. Okay, so keep on practicing, guys. This is the last topic of this semester. I know this semester was a busy semester with a lot of activities at the faculty, but I hope that you can keep on reading the material that I provide you along the semester, so you can learn more, and also keep on searching more information on your own, so that way you can learn more about phonetics. Okay, guys, thank you for paying attention, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.